All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be going deep on the Total Money Makeover. This book's been a bestseller for a reason. It's kind of a classic for anyone looking to get their, well, finances straightened out.
Yeah, and we both really dove into it, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty dense.
It really is. It's packed with actionable advice, which I think is, one of the things that makes it so appealing to people.
Totally. No one wants to just hear theories, right? They want to know what to do.
Exactly. And Ramsey doesn't hold back. He's very straightforward. His philosophy is all about simplicity and taking action.
Like no-nonsense advice.
Yeah. And one of the first things that really jumps out at you when you read the book is his stance on debt. He calls it the enemy. He sees it as a major obstacle to building wealth.
Well, I mean, anyone who's struggled with credit card debt or, felt that weight of student loans, it's pretty relatable, right?
Absolutely. He really drives home the point that debt holds you back.
Yeah. Makes it hard to get ahead.
It steals your future. And I think, we've all probably felt that at some point, the feeling of just being stuck, living paycheck to paycheck.
Tell me about it.
And that's why I think so many people find his message so powerful. It's about breaking free from that cycle, from that feeling of being trapped.
Okay, so then how do we do it? How do we break free?
Well, Ramsey lays out this very clear path. It's the famous 7 baby steps. It all starts with a simple step, building a small emergency fund, just $1,000.
Oh, wow. Okay, so not a huge amount right off the bat. That fees achievable, right?
Exactly. It's not overwhelming. It's about creating that initial sense of security, having that little cushion gives you a little bit of breathing room, and then, it kind of builds momentum from there.
I guess once you've got that going, it's easier to tackle the bigger stuff.
Exactly. So step 2 then is attacking your debt with what he calls the debt snowball.
Oh, I've heard of this. Isn't that where you pay off the smallest debts first?
You got it. You list all your debts from smallest to largest, and you focus on knocking out the smallest one first, regardless of the interest rate.
Interesting. I'd always thought you'd want to go after the one with the highest interest to save money.
That's the logical approach. But Ramsey argues that this is more about behavior, more about psychology.
So it's like getting those quick wins, right?
Mhm.
You kind of get that sense of accomplishment that keeps you motivated.
Exactly. Like you pay off that first debt, even if it's a small one, it gives you that boost. Like, hey, I can do this.
I can totally see that, like checking things off a list.
Right. And then you roll that momentum into the next debt and the next until, eventually you're completely debt free.
It's almost like tricking your brain into staying motivated.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. It's not just about numbers. It's about how our minds work.
And then after the snowball, you go back to the emergency fund, right?
Right. Step 3 is building up that emergency fund to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses.
Oh, wow. So now we're talking real security.
Exactly. This is about having a safety net, knowing that you can weather any storm, any unexpected expense. And that leads into step 4, where things start to get really exciting.
Okay, what's step 4? Lay it on me.
This is where you shift gears. It's all about investing 15% of your income for retirement.
Ah, okay. So this is where that long-term wealth building comes in.
Exactly. And, this is where that whole compound interest magic really starts to work its wonders.
I know everyone always talks about compound interest. That's like the key to building wealth over time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like your money starts making money. And Ramsey advocates for a, pretty straightforward low-risk approach, primarily focusing on mutual funds.
Okay, so not super risky investments then.
Not really. He emphasizes consistency and minimizing risk over time.
Got it. So it's kind of like the tortoise and the hare, huh? Slow and steady wins the race.
That's a good way to put it. He believes that for most people, the peace of mind that comes with a lower risk approach is worth more than the potential for slightly higher returns with riskier investments.
Well, everyone has a different risk tolerance, I suppose. Some people love the thrill of high-stakes investments.
True, but Ramsey's approach is all about building that solid foundation, creating a sense of security and stability for the long haul.
All right, I like it. So what comes after you've started investing for retirement?
Then it's all about the kids. Step 5 is saving for your children's college fund.
Oh, wow. So like setting them up for success from the get-go.
Exactly. It's about breaking that cycle of student loan debt that we talked about earlier.
Makes total sense,
Yeah.
especially now with college costs being what they are.
It's a huge burden for so many young people starting their lives. And then once you've got that college fund rolling, it's on to step 6.
All right, hit me.
Paying off your home. Can you imagine owning your space outright, free and clear?
Oh, that would be amazing. No more mortgage payments.
It's a huge financial milestone, and it brings a lot of peace of mind. And then finally, we reach the summit, step 7, building wealth and giving.
Okay, so this is like reaching that point where you're truly financially secure
Yeah.
and can start focusing on things beyond just yourself, right?
Yeah. It's about leaving a legacy, making a difference.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not just about accumulating wealth for yourself.
It's about aligning your finances with your values and using your resources to make a positive impact.
So we've got the big picture, right? We've got these 7 steps. But even with a roadmap, I mean, let's face it, managing money day to day, that's a whole other beast.
And that's where budgeting comes in, which honestly, I know it's not the most glamorous topic.
Not exactly a page turner.
No, but
No.
it's crucial. And Ramsey has this system that he calls the zero-based budget. And it's all about taking control of your money, giving every dollar a purpose.
So you're not just mindlessly spending, hoping there's enough left at the end of the month.
You're being intentional. You know where your money is going. It's about making choices that are in line with your goals and values.
I can see how that would be really empowering.
Yeah,
Like you're the one calling the shots, not your bank account.
exactly. And it forces you to really confront your spending habits and ask yourself those tough questions like, do I really need this?
Right. And that brings us to another thing that Ramsey talks about a lot, like these money myths that we all kind of buy into.
Oh, yeah. And one of the biggest ones, one that he really hammers home, is that you need a credit card to build credit.
Oh, man, that's like ingrained in our culture, right?
Right. It's what everyone tells you. But Ramsey argues that if you're living debt-free, a credit score becomes totally irrelevant.
Wow. It's such a different way of thinking about things.
It is. And another myth he tackles is that, car payments are just a fact of life.
Oh, yeah. Like it's unavoidable.
Right. Like you have to be in debt to drive a car. But his approach is drive a reliable used car and save up for those upgrades.
It's like breaking free from that constant consumerism cycle, right?
Exactly. It's about making choices that align with your long-term goals.
So we've covered a lot of ground. Debt, the 7 baby steps, even budgeting, and these money myths. But there's still so much to unpack, right?
Oh, yeah. We're just getting started.
So we'll be back for part 2, where we'll dig even deeper into Ramsey's strategies for tackling debt and building wealth. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Last time we were talking about those foundational steps, like tackling debt head-on, those baby steps, and of course, the dreaded zero-based budget.
Yeah, the budget.
Yeah.
But hey, it's all about building that solid base, right? Like before you can really start building your financial dream house.
That's a great analogy. And today, well, let's talk about some of the more, I guess you could say the nitty-gritty strategies.
Yeah. Get down to the nuts and bolts.
Exactly. So, one of the things that Ramsey emphasizes when it comes to paying off debt faster is, well, boosting your income.
Okay, so it's not always about cutting back then.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to bring in more money to fuel that debt snowball.
Right. You got to throw more snow on that snowball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could look like, maybe taking on a side hustle.
Oh, right. Like the classic side hustle.
Or negotiating a raise at work.
Ooh, that's a good one. A lot of people are kind of afraid to do that.
They are. But it's worth it, especially if you're valuable to your company.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or even just finding creative ways to monetize your skills.
Exactly. And Ramsey talks about that a lot, like, getting resourceful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thinking outside the box.
Be creative. You'd be surprised what people are willing to pay for these days.
That's true. Like everyone's got something they're good at.
Exactly. And speaking of skills, one thing that Ramsey talks about a lot is communication, especially for couples who are trying to manage their money together.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Money and relationships. That can be a recipe for disaster sometimes.
It can be a minefield. But, Ramsey really believes in open and honest conversations about finances. He's all about setting shared goals.
Right. Because you got to be on the same page.
You got to be rowing the boat in the same direction, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up just going in circles.
Exactly. And when it comes to managing money, it's not just about tracking the numbers.
Oh, absolutely. Ramsey also talks a lot about being mindful of your spending habits.
So it's more than just like, did I overspend on lattes this month?
It is. It's like, okay, why did I buy that?
Right. Like, what was the underlying motivation?
Exactly. Like, sometimes it's emotional spending.
Totally. Like, retail therapy when you're feeling down.
Exactly. Or maybe it's, just mindlessly grabbing things at the checkout line.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that. Impulse buys.
Right. But when you really start to pay attention to your spending and why you're doing it, that's when you can start making more conscious choices.
Choices that are actually in line with your goals.
Yes. And that brings us to another big topic that Ramsey tackles, homeownership.
Okay, yeah. Now, I know he's a big proponent of owning your own home.
He is. But he's very clear about avoiding those super long mortgages, the ones that, keep you in debt for decades.
Right, right. So he's more about those shorter loan terms.
Exactly. And a hefty down payment.
So it's like minimizing those interest payments, building equity quicker.
Exactly. And he also talks about this idea of not buying more house than you can really afford.
Yeah. It's tempting to go for the biggest, fanciest place you can get approved for.
Right. But that can come back to bite you.
Oh, yeah. It's not worth being house poor.
Exactly. And that actually leads into another key theme in the book, this idea of contentment.
Contentment. In a world where everyone's trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Right. But Ramsey argues that, true contentment comes from aligning your spending with your values.
So it's not about deprivation.
No.
No.
It's about finding joy and fulfillment in things that don't necessarily have a price tag.
Right. Like experiences, relationships.
Exactly. The things that truly matter.
Okay, that's a nice thought. And, we've been talking about all this, saving and paying off debt and all that. But what about giving back?
Oh, yeah. That's another huge part of Ramsey's philosophy.
He doesn't want people to wait until they're millionaires to start being generous.
Exactly. He believes it should be integrated into your financial plan from day one.
Even if it's just small amounts at first.
Absolutely. Just get in the habit. It's all about making it a part of your life.
Yeah. And, giving back isn't always about money either.
Right. It's about your time, your talents.
It's about, making a difference in whatever way you can.
Exactly. So, we've talked a lot about the positives of Ramsey's approach, but we'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge that there are some criticisms out there.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, not every financial philosophy is going to be for everyone.
Right. And one common critique is that his investment strategy is too conservative. Like, people could potentially earn more if they took on more risk.
Yeah, there's always that trade-off, right?
There is. But, Ramsey really emphasizes minimizing risk and building that slow and steady growth.
So it depends on your risk tolerance.
Exactly. Another criticism is that his intense focus on debt elimination might overshadow other goals, like retirement savings.
Oh, right. Like some people would argue you should be doing both simultaneously.
Exactly. And Ramsey acknowledges that, the baby steps are just a guide.
It's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
It's a framework. You can adapt it to your own situation.
Right, right. So it's really about finding what works best for you.
Exactly. And that's what I appreciate about Ramsey's work. It's very accessible and adaptable. It meets people where they are.
Yeah. It's empowering. It gives you that control.
It does. It helps you take control of your financial future, regardless of your past mistakes or where you're starting from. And, that's really what it's all about, taking ownership and building the life you want.
Welcome back. It's the final part of our deep dive into the total money makeover. We've gone through a lot, haven't we?
We have those baby steps, budgeting. We even talked about some of the things people might disagree with.
Yeah. But overall, I think what's really struck me is how Ramsey makes all this personal finance stuff feel, I don't know, kind of exciting.
Right. It's not just like dry and boring. He makes you feel like you can actually do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's about more than just money, It's about taking control, building a life that you actually enjoy.
Yeah. He's really good at connecting with people on that level,
Yeah.
tapping into those emotions.
He's not afraid to, say what he thinks, even if it's controversial.
Right. Like that whole thing about ditching credit cards and using cash.
Oh, yeah. In this day and age, that's pretty radical.
It is. But I think that's part of what makes him so popular, He's not just saying the same old stuff.
He's shaking things up.
Yeah.
And that's appealing to people who are, I don't know, just tired of feeling stuck.
Absolutely. People who are drowning in debt, stressed about bills, he offers them hope, a way out.
Yeah. And, one thing we didn't talk about too much is this whole idea of personal responsibility.
Oh, yeah. That's huge for Ramsey. It's like you're in charge of your own finances.
Exactly. You have the power to make choices.
And sometimes that means making tough choices, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're the one in the driver's seat.
It's about taking ownership. And that can be a really powerful shift, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's like you're not a victim of your circumstances. You can change them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And imagine, how amazing it would feel to be completely debt-free.
Oh, man. No more credit card bills. No more student loans hanging over your head.
Yeah. To just have that financial freedom. To be able to, I don't know, pursue your passions without constantly worrying about money.
That's the dream, to have your finances working for you, not the other way around.
So as we wrap up, what would you say is like the one big takeaway from all of this?
Well, we've talked about a lot of different things, but I think what it all boils down to is taking action.
Even if it's just a small step.
Right, like those 7 baby steps might seem overwhelming, but they're all about building momentum.
It's like you don't have to do everything at
You
once.
just got to start somewhere. Pick one thing and focus on that.
Maybe it's creating a budget or paying off a small debt.
Or even just starting that little emergency fund. Anything. Just take that first step.
Because every journey starts with a single step.
Right, exactly. And it's not always going to be easy. There will be bumps in the road.
But remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Great. Ramsey talks a lot about community, and there are tons of people out there who are on this same journey.
Yeah, so many people are going through the same struggle.
Exactly. And that's what I love about this whole thing. It's not just about personal finance. It's about personal growth. It's about becoming a better version of yourself.
It's about taking control of your life.
Exactly. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the total money makeover, we'll leave you with this. What's one small action you can take today to get started on your financial journey?
Remember, you got this. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored the world of personal finance.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.